welcome to Forest Namesake. We're so glad that you've joined us. We're once again in the library to discuss something with you or prayer request. But first I want to read a scripture from Isaiah chapter 41 verse 10. And this is the Lord speaking. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. About, I think 2 nights ago it was, we were where we sleep in the parking lot to get ready for bed. Daddy, my daddy had fixed the tarp and was making his way to the passenger seat. He sat down and he started to mumble, and we thought he was joking. It was very garbled speech. He just would not stop.
Yes, and then I was watching him, and I was in the passenger seat and he was in the driver's seat, and I was watching him just because we do a lot of joking around in our family, which is great because it's good to have a sense of humor through all of life's situations, and so we do a lot of joking around and acting, and so sometimes we never know if someone's being real in a situation, and so I thought he was playing jokes with us, but he was slurring his words. He kept repeating his sentences, and we said, would you please calm down? And he'd say, you all calm down. He goes, I know, you all need to calm down. And then he started to rock like this, and I was still laughing and saying, come on, Mike, that's a good show you're putting on. You're a really good actor right now. But then I noticed some things happening that I know that he had no control over. For example, I know this is going to sound gross, but I want to let you know what happened. There was snot coming out of his nose. I mean, we're talking dripping. And then there was saliva coming out of his mouth, drooling, and he wasn't really talking right. And he was trying to take off his shoe while he was rocking. And I would say, if you would stop rocking, maybe you can actually take the shoe off. And I couldn't get to him because there's like a middle compartment, and it's practically impossible for me to get down there and help him. There's not much room in the front where the steering wheel is and all that. And I said, if you would just, maybe you can use both hands. Why don't you use your left hand to help yourself get the shoe off? And he would just kept rocking like he didn't hear me, like he was deaf. And then I just kind of observed, and Valentine, she called 911. I was still trying to, I don't know what was going on with me. I don't know if I was in denial, if I was in shock, if I was disbelieving, I don't know, or I just didn't know what to do. And all I could say was, use your left hand. And then I noticed that his left hand and his arm was just limp, laying there on his lap. And then suddenly an alert went off in my mind, and I thought, oh no, maybe he's had a stroke. Because that usually affects, I mean, it can affect both sides, but maybe just the left side of his body. And then I was alerted, and I thought, oh no, he's had a stroke. And so then I was thinking, we need to call 911, and then I heard Valentine in the back. She had already called 911. She was already on the phone. She had gotten right on it and was talking on the phone, and the dispatcher lady was, I guess, talking to her and asking her questions about his symptoms and that sort of thing.
It was very traumatizing.
Yes.
And that was my first 911 call to make, so I was already very emotional. I was crying on the phone. She tried to keep me calm and explain what was exactly going on. And she said, okay, keep talking to me. I'm sending out the ambulance your way. And so I explained his symptoms, and I was even crying. You would think he was drunk, and I know that he does not drink. We don't drink. But that's how he's acting. He's acting like he's not all there. And he keeps saying blah, 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 that kind of stuff. And yeah, that was scary. She told me to do certain things. Oh yeah, and he kept wanting to drink his water.
Yeah.
And the lady on the phone said, no water, not yet. Wait till the ambulance comes. And so when we tried to take the water from him, he was getting upset. He was so confused. I felt bad, but.
Right.
And then she had me tell him to put both arms in front. Tell him your dad to put both arms in front. So I told everyone else, make sure he's doing it. And he would only do the right arm, not the left. And I kept saying, Daddy, the dispatcher wants you to do both arms. And it didn't faze him at all. He kept doing this. Even one time he kind of knocked his head against the passenger window. Then she said for me to tell him to repeat these words. The early bird catches the worm. tell him to say that. And I told him to look at me, and he would only squint as if he couldn't really see me, and part of his face was kind of drooping too, and that scared me. But he sort of got the words out. Anyway, that was frightening.
That was very frightening, yes.
We were all going crazy, which probably didn't make it better for him, because he was probably scared himself, even though he was confused. But finally, we heard the ambulance come.
Yes, it took a long time. We couldn't figure out why it was taking them so long. I mean, the city in which we're living in right now is not very large. It's about 13,000 people, to give you a kind of a mark of how large or how small the town is. But everything is pretty much right there. So it took a while, but they finally made it through the parking lot that we were at. But yeah, I was going to mention something else important, but it just kind of slipped my mind about, oh, that's what I was going to say. He said, where's the keys? Where's the car keys? And I thought, why does he want the keys? He knows we're not supposed to be driving anywhere. So I quickly snatched those away, and he actually got mad at me and said, give me those keys. And I said, no, you're not going to get any keys. You're not going to drive in this condition. And then he heard the siren in the distance, and he said, what did y'all do? What did y'all do? And we said, we called the ambulance. He goes, why? I don't need an ambulance. I'm perfectly fine. While he's rocking, while he's slurring, the saliva is dripping. I had it, and I asked him, I said, could you please clean off the saliva? I wanted to see if he could do it, and he wouldn't do it. And so I got a napkin and cleaned off his mouth and cleaned off his nose. And it was like all these diseases popped up in my mind all at once. Dementia, the rocking, the slurring of the words, and not being able to move on the left arm, stroke, and then yelling at me and saying, no, that's also signs of Alzheimer. And I thought, good gosh. And then he said, I want water. So then I thought, diabetes. So a whole line full of ailments all flew in my mind at that moment, what could be possibly going on. It was so frightening and so bizarre. But yeah.
By the time the ambulance came, his episode had started to subside, and his speech was becoming more and more clear.
Yeah.
They arrived, and she said, okay, what's going on? So I tried to explain, I think he's having a stroke. I have no idea. By this time, he was already standing out of the pickup truck, very confused, like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why they called you, but here I am, basically. She said, okay, sir, can you just come with me to the ambulance? We're going to put you inside and check what's going on. And they were in there for a long time.
Yeah, a very long time. Yeah. And then the next thing you know, she comes out. There's two people. It was a young man and a young lady, and they come out. And the young lady comes out. The man staying in the truck with my husband, and she says, "We've got him on a cot, and we've got him, strapped down." And I guess because he was probably, fighting it, like, I don't need help, maybe, I don't know. And she just basically, she made it sound like it was really, really bad. And she said, it sounds like maybe, or it looks like he could be having a blood clot that's passing through, and he has got to get to the emergency room ASAP. And she did give me a choice. She said, we can take him, or you all can drive him. It's just a 5-minute drive from up here. And I was thinking about money and how much ambulances charge, and we don't have that kind of money. So I said, we'll drive him. So basically she had a report that she had typed out, and she said, give this to the emergency room clerk at the front desk there, and they'll take it from there, his vitals and all that. And she said that his blood pressure at that time of the reading was 190 over 110. To me, that sounds just deadly.
That is dangerous move.
Goodness gracious me. And so, but she didn't really know what had happened. Because she said, I wasn't here when that happened, so I can't tell you right off the bat, and I'm not a doctor, but this is what it sounds like, this is what it looks like to me from 7 years that I've been doing this.
And especially since in the ambulance, Daddy had told her that he has been experiencing back pain and upper hip thigh pain, and so that kind of rang her bells, like, oh, okay, maybe it is a blood clot that's going through his leg right now.
Right, yes. And one more thing I'd like to mention. In the past, my husband has had high blood pressure in the past, and he was on medication for that. But then because we couldn't afford the medication and we didn't have any more insurance, we couldn't get the medication anymore. But then this past summer, something else happened. I forgot what it was. He had some kind of a terrible fever or virus that wouldn't go away. Digestive issues, and they were running some tests on him, and I thought, I bet his blood pressure is through the roof, and they said, no, it's perfectly normal. You don't need to get back on that medication, yay! And we thought, wow, that's great. And then I asked my husband a few days ago, how are you taking all this homelessness? how is your mood? I mean, how are you taking it? How's your stress level? You haven't complained about a headache, which is usually a sign of high blood pressure. He goes, I'm doing fine. I'm doing just fine. There's just a few issues that kind of bother me, but overall, I don't mind doing the chauffeuring. I don't mind doing the tarp. I'm very content. I'm just glad that we're debt-free. I'm just so thankful that we're debt-free as far as bills and mortgages and things like that. So I just wanted to put that off on the side. So getting back to the ambulance now, the lady said you can have a choice to bring him to the hospital, which we did. And then, bless her heart, my Valentine doesn't have a driver's license because she's, been terrified to drive, and I don't blame her. I was like that too. I didn't get my driver's license until I was 23. And then our son does not drive. He doesn't want a driver's license for the same reason. He'd rather take buses and trains and who knows what else. And then my other daughter, she is the one that was in an accident, and we can't mention her name because she's a private person. But she hasn't driven that pickup truck of ours since 2021 when we went to the beach somewhere and we were taking turns driving. And she hasn't driven in 3 months since her automobile accident because she's been terrified of that too. So we asked her to drive because I can't see at night at all to drive. So she was very we prayed about it, and she very calmly got behind the steering wheel, and we put my husband in the back because we were afraid if he was sitting up front that he might do something,
have another episode.
Right, say I don't need to go to the hospital, because he was very much, I don't need to go to the hospital. Why did you call the ambulance? That was dumb to do. And I'm perfectly fine now. Can't you hear me? I'm talking normal. So, but she went ahead and did it, and I was so proud of her. I practically clapped, for her, that she did such a good job. And of course, with God's help, everything's with God's help. We can't do anything without God. And so we brought him to the emergency room, and that's another thing. Here's an FYI. I always thought that ambulance people get to have first bids. They get to be the first ones to go into the emergency room. The EMT told me, no, that is not true. It's according to how severe your case is. So even the ambulance people don't get to go first over the people that have been waiting in the waiting room forever. It's according to how bad your case is, or whatever you're suffering from. So that was interesting to know. I thought I'd pass that on. So anyway, we got there, and the lady took the information, the vital signs report, and just the basics, how that goes when they ask you 20 questions. Do you feel safe at home? What kind of vitamins are you on? What kind of medication are you on? Those kind of questions that they ask. And then they got the wristband going, how that goes with your name on it and all that. And took some more vital signs, and by that time his blood pressure had gone down significantly, and it was continuing to go down since the ambulance EMT crew got there, which is great. But they went ahead and got him on a cot and brought him to another room inside the emergency room to continue to monitor his situation. Their main concern was getting his blood pressure down. And then a doctor on duty walked in. It was a female, and hats off to female doctors. I think that's neat to be pretty and have to have the brains to go with that. That's pretty cool, and that's what she was. And so she came in and she kind of assessed the situation, and she basically said, since I was not there when you were describing all those when that happened, I really can't tell you right off the bat what happened to him, but we're going to run some tests, and we're going to run all kinds of tests to see what's happened. And so the first thing they did,
CAT scan.
It was a CAT scan. I guess it's kind of like an X-ray kind of thing. I don't remember having a CAT scan, but I know you have to lay down flat on your back, I think, and it's kind of like a dome over you, and they check your head, and that's what they're checking to make sure that he didn't have I guess
any kind of
aneurysm or
anything that has to do with the brain. And if it was a stroke, it would have showed on any imaging scans.
Right.
But this one did not. So she did not believe that it was a stroke, or even really a mini stroke, because even mini strokes will show up on scans.
Right. Yeah. So so they ruled that out, and then they did. They took some blood from him. I had gone to the bathroom. I had to go really bad at that time, so Valentine told me, or somebody told me that they had taken blood, and it was quite a bit of blood, and I thought, well, what was the blood test for? And I don't remember what that was for, but Who knows?
I honestly don't know. That by that time there were several nurses in there.
Yeah, there was quite a few in there, getting him hooked. Oh, and then they did an EKG where they put those stickers on your chest, and they have those wires coming down, and they did that. And I think that monitors your heart, your rhythm of your heart and stuff like that.
Because they did ask about family history, and his father had significant heart issues. When he was in his 20s, he had a heart attack.
Yes.
Had to be on medication, and in fact, he died from a heart attack.
Yeah, that was the interesting thing about it. Yeah.
So that was a red flag that went off in their brain, so they got that going, that test done.
Right.
And he complained about his leg, thigh area again. He said it's not an outward pain, it's more of an inside pain, and so they got an x-ray done of that area. And they couldn't see anything wrong with it.
Right. Yeah, so they were, and then, so it was a CAT scan, it was the EKG, they did a urinalysis, so he had to go to the bathroom and urinate into a cup because they were going to check for, sugar levels,
like
diabetes maybe, but that was negative. The EKG was negative as far as anything major in the heart, just the blood pressure they were really wanting to get that down. And then the doctor did say Eddie's dehydrated, and they got him set up for an IV. They, punctured him in the arm and got that all set up, but then they never actually put the IV in with the liquids to replenish, to give him electrolytes for loss of fluids. I thought that was interesting that they never got that actually going, even though the doctor said, and we can tell he's very dehydrated, and that'll also raise up blood pressure levels. So they didn't do that, and then CAT scan, and then the X-ray was to check for the leg for any like bones stuff. There was nothing wrong there, and there was no blood clot like Valentine mentioned. And then there was a blood test. The blood test was also determined whether or not there was a blood clot, and the doctor said all of those tests came out negative. And then she said, I may want to keep him I may want to admit him to the hospital. That would be upstairs for a couple of days to monitor some mental issues. And I thought, why is she saying mental issues? Then I thought, oh, maybe she's thinking like I am, like maybe beginning signs of dementia or something. I don't know, or maybe because the high blood pressure was so high, it can mess with your brain or something. I don't know. But then she said, well, she kind of thought about it, and then she said, well, we'll just go ahead and do those last two tests, the blood work and the check on the blood clot and stuff, and we'll just go with that for right now, and then we'll go from there. And then, of course, they gave us a handful of paperwork of things that my husband needs to avoid eating, like sodium, which is bad for blood pressure. Watch your fats, your cholesterol. Sugars, it did mention that too. Stay away from overly sweetened drinks and that sort of thing. And, just kind of watch your diet and exercise, which he's been really good about that. We go every other day. We go to the gym, to the Y, and he does a really good job exercising. I'm actually proud of my husband for that.
She did say the pain could be arthritis.
Yes.
Or the way he sleeps in the car. By this time, she had known about our homeless situation.
Yes.
Which is probably why she brought up mental, because she's probably thinking he's under a lot of stress.
Right.
Which can cause high blood pressure, which can cause those episodes to happen.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and then they just she said, because all the tests came out negative for the most part, and we've got his blood pressure back down to normal, I'm going to go ahead and discharge you. However, I am going to put him on a blood pressure medication, not as strong as the one he used to be on, because that one you need to drink a whole lot of water with, and since y'all are not really drinking a whole lot of water, I'm not going to put him on that. I'm going to put him on a low dosage, and that medicine, I'm kind of usually the first thing I do when it comes back from the pharmacy is I look at the long list that says these things can happen, and it's a whole list including death. And so I'm so glad that one didn't have it. The minor side effect was a cough, and I thought we can handle that. But nevertheless, he needed to get on the high blood pressure medicine nevertheless. So that's what he's been taking. So far so good. He hasn't had any major side effects being on it, and we make sure that he takes that on a regular basis. And then we're very, the kids are especially like, Daddy, don't drink that sweet drink, don't drink the bubbly drinks, don't drink caffeinated drinks. And while he's on the medication, he's not allowed to have any caffeine of any kind, so he can't even drink tea. So he was kind of upset that he's going to be stuck with water, it looks like it.
And we're not trying to be bossy. It is hard. I try to hold myself, but since he was not conscious of what happened, and it was more traumatizing for us to witness it.
Yes.
So anytime we think he's not talking right or he's drinking something he shouldn't, we get very jumpy and nervous, because it just brings back flashbacks of that night. We don't want to go through that again.
Right.
After doing more research, we think he might have had what's called, let me say that.
Transient ischemic attack, which is better known as TIA, if there's any nurses watching. So I always thought it was like a miniature stroke, but then we learned that miniature strokes don't even show up on the...
Strokes do, but TIAs don't.
Don't show on any, what do you call it, not CAT scans, but blood work and that sort of thing.
But they're just a series of strokes, because it's still a loss of blood flow to your brain. It's still an emergency. In fact, TIAs are a warning sign that a stroke can happen very soon in the future, anywhere from 2 days to 90 days.
Yeah.
And 20% of people who've had TIA get a stroke within 2 days. But he's past the 2-day mark, and we hope that continues, and that his health continues to improve, and that the medication does its job.
Yes, and then I just want to add, for me personally, as his wife, just kind of, I feel like I'm on edge. I'm just being very careful around him. I'm just watching his, just because there's been other fears coming in, and of course that's the enemy coming in and saying, well, he could still have dementia. Or even though those tests came out negative, he could still have a blood clot. They're just people, they don't know anything, and the enemy is just constantly bombarding me throughout the day and making me nervous, and I can actually, feel myself being tense and nervous, and especially the day after it happened. I think today is actually the 3rd day since that's happened. That was Saturday night, and today it is Tuesday. So, sorry we were wrong on the days, but when you're in our situation, the days just kind of overlap, and sometimes we don't even know what day it is or what hour it is unless we look at a cell phone. So I'm sorry, you'll have to forgive us on that. But that first day, Sunday, I was a nervous wreck. I was just shaking. I was nervous, and the enemy kept telling me all these things. Your husband's going to die. It's just a matter of time, and he's just a ticking time bomb. Just wait for it to happen, and just watch every move he makes, because it may be his last. And just horrible in my my brain. And so I started to just go to scripture and pray to God and say, God, help me. I need you. I can't do this on my own. The enemy is bombarding me with fear, and I need your help. Please comfort me. And he did. He really comforted me, and I feel a whole lot better. But of course, we always need prayer, so we would appreciate your continued prayer for our family, because that was traumatic for the children as well. Each one dealt with it differently. And
in fact, the day after that episode, I emailed several friends, and some of you are watching. Thank you so much for your kind words and your compassion, and telling me it's okay to feel the way you're feeling. It's okay to feel worried or stressed from what you've gone through. God's with you. He's going to watch after you. And those words just mean a lot to me, and I shared them with my family as well. So big thank you.
Yeah. Yes. And my husband's doing, I keep asking them every day, how are you doing? He goes, I'm fine. And now it's, in the beginning he couldn't remember what he had just done. Like a few minutes before that, I would say, do you remember anything that just happened? And he'd say no. And then later, as time went on, he's like, oh, I do remember now. I do remember doing those things, which was strange that he could remember that.
He especially remembers trying to say something, and he could not get the words out to come out the way he wanted them to.
Right.
He does remember that.
Yeah. So, but he's doing a whole lot better. And so we've told the kid, we've all had a little talk, and we said, now we cannot stress out Daddy. We just can't do that. And I know that I can speak from experience, and I'm not going to mention any names, but me and one of the other children, well, they're adult children, but we are very panicky on the road, and because of past experiences, and so we're constantly, I guess though, I hate to use the word nag, but in a way we're kind of nagging my husband and saying, oh, watch that car, oh, be careful, don't go yet, and that is very stressful for my husband. You know, you're driving and you're responsible for 5 lives in that truck. And when you've got 2 people saying, oh, don't do that, don't move, you can't go yet, you know, or stuff like that, that'll drive anybody insane. And so he has actually asked me and said, I would appreciate it if you and this other person would not do that to me when I'm driving. That causes a whole lot of stress. And then there's some other issues, and one of the other children is very into his health, you know, but to the point, you know, to the point where he said, I don't want that person to keep reminding me. I know what I need to do. I don't want that person to keep reminding me over and over again what I need to do and that sort of thing. I know what I need to do, and it's my body, and I'll take care of it. So, and he said, if those 2 things would just leave me alone, I mean, if y'all would just leave me alone on those issues, that would help out a whole lot. He did tell me that the other day, and when he was calm and back to normal. So I'm making an effort. In fact, I don't even watch anymore. There's times where I just close my eyes and I'll say, tell me when we're there. Tell me when we're there. And that way I don't get involved. And so, anyway, the other one, we still need to work on that one, but they said they can't do that. They can't close their eyes. They have to keep watch, because there's been a couple of times where we did have some near wrecks, and if it wasn't for that person saying, hey, Daddy, you can't go yet. Yeah. So, but I mean, I keep saying, well, that was God telling her or him to, you know, not say that. So anyway, but yeah, so.
And as far as his, you could pray for this too, his pain in his thigh is still going on.
Yeah.
Appreciate prayer for that. We did give him some arthritic gel. He has not yet tried it, but hopefully it will do its job.
Yeah, that's a mystery. Can't figure out what's wrong with that one.
Yeah, probably just the way we're sleeping in it. Until we have a home, that's just the way it sadly is. But I know that God is with us, and he definitely helped us that night.
Definitely. Yes.
I mean, he gave me the ability to even dial 911, which I've always been frightened to even look at the emergency number by accidentally calling it, something like that. A lot of people don't know this about me. I have phone phobia. It sounds silly to even say it. I can text and I can call on the phone if it's someone I'm very close to, like my family. But calling a stranger, I get extreme anxiety, and I forget what the person on the phone is even saying, that I have to repeat it several times.
Right, yes.
But that night, I could hear clearly what she was saying, and she kept me calm. So
yes.
I know that was the Lord who gave me that dispatcher to talk to.
Yes. And the Lord was definitely with our other daughter, who just didn't even fight us on it, just immediately said, yes, I'll drive, and was very calm. And we prayed, of course, before, and God was definitely with us and drove her peacefully and carefully down the road. And we were afraid that my husband would be in the back, you know, saying, you know, I don't need to go to the hospital, leave me alone, let's stop this nonsense. That didn't happen either, because we prayed about that too ahead of time. So thank you, Lord, for that. And yeah, so he was definitely with us, and he kept our son, you know, calm too. And so, because something you may not know, and I can share this, I may have shared this before, but our son has been diagnosed with clinical depression and has a slight bit of autism, the spectrum autism going on with him. And so he can't handle stress very well. And in fact, that was his very first time ever, besides when he was born, to be in a hospital. So that was extremely traumatic for him to go through. And he, you know, but he was okay. But he just said, I need to get out of here ASAP. I need to go to the truck and just get some sleep, because I can't handle this. And I just went ahead and let him go with one of his other siblings, and they went to the truck. Mm-hmm. While I stayed with my husband, and Valentine stayed with me as well.
Another blessing. That was so late at night. By that time it was about 11:30, and we were in the hospital for over 4 hours.
Yes.
So a blessing was that my siblings did not have to work the next day.
Yes.
We
Yes.
leave the parking lot about 4:50 in the morning,
Right.
and they work at 6 a.m. and breakfast and all. So
Yes.
praise God that they were able to sleep in. This might be in 2 videos. The first half might be cut off abruptly because my camera card was full, so I had to delete some past videos and pictures. So sorry about that. This will be a shorter half version. We were talking about God's blessings and how He was with us the night of my daddy's episode. Very traumatic on none of us, but we're so thankful for the presence of the Lord, and would appreciate your prayers for my daddy concerning his thigh pain as well as his blood pressure levels.
Yes, definitely. Yes, and for the rest of the family, who everybody dealt with it in a different way, and it was very traumatizing for some of us in the moments while that was going on, and continued at the hospital as well, and afterwards too. Just now we're kind of more on edge, just making sure Daddy's doing what he needs to do, eating right, getting enough sleep, taking his blood pressure medicine, and all that good stuff. So yeah, but yeah.
Oh, and for those of you who are new, his name is Mike.
Yes. So yeah, please pray for Mike and family.
Yeah.
And we are so thankful for each and every one of you, and thank you for all of our new subscribers who've tagged on along with us on this journey, and do check out our songs. We do anything from hymns to gospel, and we do put in a few contemporary songs in there too, for those of us who like contemporary. I like some contemporary music, and some short testimonies as we have here,
And shorts.
short videos as well. So check out those as well. And
Yeah. Be sure to hit like, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. And if you have any prayer requests, please leave them in the comments below. God bless you.
God bless you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.